Today is raining outside, which is good because it haven't rained in a while, so that's good. Today's a weird day for me. It's a day that I'm really cleaning, doing some deep cleaning, so now I'm mopping, and in the process of mopping, again, there's a lot that is being deposited into me as I talk to God and pray to God about a lot of stuff, and as He responds to me and speaks to my heart. Speak to my heart, Holy Spirit. Give me a word that will bring new life. Beautiful, beautiful. There's something that was deposited in me, so I stopped in the midst of all that I'm doing because I wanted to share this real quick. I don't know if I want to call this What Is My Why. It probably will go along with those postings for What Is My Why, but I definitely want to share this, and here it is. I got married at the age of 17. My husband was 29 when I got married to him. He was 17 years older than me. At the age of 18, I had my first child, a beautiful boy. At the age of 19, I had the job that I wanted. I remember going to this class. It was called Jobs for Youth in Chicago. They service 16-year-olds to 21-year-olds, helping them to get prepared for the workforce. And one of the questions that I remember them asking me, they said, what is it that I wanted to be? What type of job did I want to hold? And I told them I wanted to work in the bank. I did. I always wanted to work in the bank. I couldn't tell you why. I don't remember what my why was back then. I know it'll come back to me. But I always wanted to work in a bank. And my very first job was working at Harris Bank in Chicago. It was downtown. From my understanding, they're no longer located downtown. But I was a wire transfer teller, and I loved that job. I was working there when the stock market crashed. Anyway, I say that to say this. Being a young wife, mother, employee, paying bills, because I paid the bills at the time. My husband wasn't firmly employed at the time, and so I picked up the slack, and I did so with no problems. But none of this is about him. None of this is about that relationship. What this is about is, as a young wife, a young parent, I always, when I started thinking about it, I realized I'm a teenager and I'm doing this. I'm a young adult, and by the time I was 20, I had 3 kids, I think. Let's see, first at 18, second at 19, third at 20. Yeah, by the time I was 22, I had 4 kids. So I was a young parent, and I wanted to know, what does it mean to be an adult? As a child, and as a matter of fact, I'll tell you why that would come up to me, because I remember going out, and I wanted to go out with some of those who I associated with that was older than me, and we were going to the stepping club, and you had to be 21 or older to get in, and I think I was 19 or 20 maybe, and they told me that I couldn't go in, and I'm like, why? I'm a wife, I'm married, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I have a job, I can't come in and sit down and enjoy this older scene of stuff. The guy didn't want. He ended up finally letting me in because there was no way I could get home, and I would have had to wait till those I was riding with. They all went through the door and just left me standing there. By the time I became 21, again, I'm ready to go. Now I can't get in because I'm not 24. You know, there were some clubs like that. You had to be a certain age to get in, and they wouldn't let you in. So what I wanted to know, I always wanted to know, and I always would ask people older than me, you know, what does it mean to be an adult? And nobody could answer me. I asked religious women, what does it mean to be an adult? Older women, nobody could answer me. And I say religious because, again, I didn't want to say like the denomination or anything, which is why I said that. I didn't mean religious, meaning that they were like uppity or anything. I didn't mean that. I meant that, okay, let me change that. I asked those who went to church, you know, what does it mean to be an adult? And no one could answer that for me. Nobody. I was in my 30s when I got into some serious trouble for the first time. I mean, for the first time, okay, some serious trouble. And I was arrested. And I remember sitting there, and the three of us who were arrested, we were all separated. And I remember them coming to me, and they were trying to say to me that this other person was the reason why I was arrested. And I remember taking accountability for my own actions and not placing any blame. I remember the entire time being held, and while they were trying to put a case together. Yes, I did get arrested. Yes, I did. I spent some time in jail, a considerable amount of time in jail. And even down to that, when I was finally sentenced, because I remember my lawyer saying to me, he said, you need to go home. You need to go home to your babies. You need to take this 502. They wanted me to take a plea bargain. By this time, and I'm skipping over a lot of stuff, but by this time that they wanted me to take this plea bargain, God had already caught my attention. And I had already begun again after like a year or so. I mean, I was held for a while, even before they charged me. I was held for about 3 years, maybe, before I actually received a charge. They were still building a case and still trying to figure out. But during that time, I mean, they kept bringing us back to court, and I had what was called Buck Roger court dates, which means that I wouldn't go back into court for another 7 weeks. It was like 7 weeks, 7 weeks, 7 weeks. And then I remember this one time, I remember saying to God, I'm tired. I can't do another 7-week long court date. I went to court. They gave me a court date for 4 weeks later. And I remember some of the ladies that was locked up with me, because I never talked about my case. And I remember them trying to figure out why was I being, they was like, you had to have killed somebody, and I'm like, no, I didn't kill anybody. I'm in here because dad got me in here. And they was like, your dad put you in jail? I'm like, yeah, my dad sat me down. But again, that is not, and I'm skipping over a lot of stuff. So you're really not hearing the story, the whole story, and the whole, and all of that is eventually, slowly but surely, is coming. I am writing a lot. But I say all that to say this. During the time, especially the first beginning of our being locked up and going back and forth to being transported back and forth to the police station as they were trying to build this case. And they kept trying to, I remember the investigative officer saying to me that I was a sweet young lady. And there's like, you don't need to be here, and there was a lot of people that was always telling me that. And even my experience in jail was not the experience that most people have in jail. There's a movie called A Boy in a Bubble with John Travolta. Well, there's a new one out, an updated version with a young girl now. But I remember telling people that for me, going through jail, it was like being a boy in a bubble. I literally felt protected, divinely protected. And there was so much that God was doing. But the first thing that God had to do was get my attention, because I wasn't listening to nobody. I wasn't going to the church services. You couldn't make me, That's a story too. That's a story too, how I got started actually going to the services. But God allowed me for 6 months to just rest. I was tired. I was really burnt out and tired. And it had nothing to do with what caused me to become locked up. It had everything to do with, I was tired in my soul. I was just tired. And again, unless you really know me, and unless you know all the things that I've been through, from youth on up, and it's coming. It is coming slowly but surely. But anyway, I was tired. So during the process of going through and people trying to tell me, this person is the reason why and I'm like, no, and I took accountability for my own actions. I didn't place no blame on nobody else for why I made the decisions that I made, and I stood on that. And I never forget when God dropped it in my spirit that that's what it means to being an adult. Being an adult means that you take responsibility for your own actions. You don't place blame. You don't tell nobody that the reason this, that, or the other is happening is because they did. No, you're not an adult. Being an adult doesn't mean just because your certain age, like 20, 21, older, however, that don't make you an adult. Just because you have a job, you holding that down a job, paying bills, and that don't make you an adult. I was doing that at 17, 18, 19. Just because you're married or however, that doesn't make somebody's wife or whatever, that does not make you an adult. Just because you've had a baby and you know how to change diapers, baby children are taught that at a young age because they play with dolls. Hello, just because you could cook food and bring home the bacon, I could bring home the bacon, serve it up in a pan, and never, never, never let you forget you're a man. You remember that commercial, Anjali? Just because you could do all those things does not make you a woman or a man, okay? Or an adult. That does not make you an adult. That's what I'm trying to say. Just because you can do all these responsibilities does not make you an adult. What makes you an adult is you're taking responsibility for your own actions and not blaming somebody else. The minute you point that finger and begin to say, this is happening to me because of you or because of what you did, you still immature. You still got a lot to learn, a whole lot to learn. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I'm just really grateful for the things that I've learned and the things that God has taught me because I always wanted to know. I mean, it just is today at 51. It is crazy to me to think back over all I've been through, to realize with all that I've been through, the biggest problem that I had with all that I suffered through was me. It wasn't the first husband. It wasn't the issues of the second. It wasn't none of that. It wasn't nobody else. It was me. And here's the reason why, for that, which I have to come back to later. The reason why is God warns all of us. He tells us all. He warns us all. I love Proverbs now. It says, my son, listen to me. Gain wisdom. He speaks to us. Oh my gosh. But we too grown to listen. And so then when we knock our head, when we have a problem, like for instance, you tell a child, stop running in the house, stop running around the table. But they keep on doing it. They don't listen to you. And then, bam, they bust their head open. Big old knot upside their head. Why? You could have avoided that if you just listen. So I realize now that, and I can't blame, you can't blame, or that child can't blame, well, this person is the reason why I failed because he tripped. No, because you had no business running in the first place. If you had not ran, you would not have been in a position to trip or get tripped. And you would not even have been in an area where if you had got tripped that you would have busted your head. So I'm saying, again, I found out, I learned, and I learned this a long time ago, but for some reason, just got the unction to share it now. Just because you can hold down a bill, just because you're married, just because you have kids, just because you paying your own bills, however, as Beyonce and Destiny's Child said, that don't make you an adult. That don't make you an adult. What makes a person an adult is when they take responsibility for their own actions. The minute you blame somebody else for your actions, you show just how immature that you are. But let me throw this in here real quick. God said, train up a boy in the way he should go, and when he becomes a man, he won't depart from it. When a person is immature, that's why the training is necessary, because it is through the training. God said it is through the things that we suffer that we learn obedience. So it is through making mistakes. It's through the training that comes from that you learn how and become mature. So even in all of that, is no shade being thrown or any of that. It's just a heads up, it's a heads up. I've seen some grown people who, Aaliyah sung it. She said, age ain't nothing but a number. But I've seen some grown people that has acted like really young, and I have been like really shocked behind that. And I get it now. I get it now. You know that saying we have, y'all. When you know better, you do better. It's all about maturing. God tells us all to press on to maturity. That's what he tells us. That's in the New Testament. Press on to maturity. So it's a learning thing. It's not nothing to be embarrassed about. It's a learning thing. But we need to all remember that none of us is so grown that we can't learn. And again, just because you're a certain age, that don't make you an adult either. Just because you're a certain height, that doesn't make you an adult. The minute you start taking accountability for your own mistakes, accountability for the role that you played and everything that you went through, regardless of what happened and how it happened, what was the role you played? I've heard, I remember, I'm going to share this real quick. My son that has children, he was disciplining one of his sons, and the son was telling on the other brother, and it was like, and he did it. And my son said to him, okay, yeah, I get that. I get what he did, but what did you do? What did you do? So the minute that you can say you're an adult is when you begin taking accountability for your own actions. When you know better, when I know better, I do better. I hope that blessed somebody. I hope that blessed somebody. I hope that blessed somebody. Okay, bye. I'll be back again. I'm pretty sure, because I always get these little nuggets when I'm cleaning, and I'm in the process of cleaning. But until then, bye.